Hey guys, thank you so much for supporting our content. If you've not done so already, please subscribe, share, and like our videos. Today I'm chatting to Tinyiko Sihlangu. She is a CFO of one of the investment companies and also was featured as a SICA Top 35 Under 35 finalist. So she's definitely someone we are very interested to chat to just about her career journey and understand what's helped her get to where she got to today. Tinyiko, thank you so much for making time for us. Really, really appreciative of the fact that you are here.
Thanks, Jabu. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Let's kick off with the SICA Top 35 Under 35 competition. That is a phenomenal achievement. I mean, I don't know how many CAs are in the country so far, and you were featured as one of the top 35 Under 35. What was the meaning of that competition for you and being, listed as one of the top 35?
It was a great opportunity. I think for me to be able to showcase what I've done as a CA with the qualification was a great opportunity. I was actually nominated by one of our trainees in our CA training program, who kept insisting that I need to be part of this competition, and he nominated me, and that opportunity to reflect on what you're doing as a CA and as a finance professional, it was a great initiative that SICA has.
And what does the competition actually look for? What type of CAs are they recognizing as the top 35 Under 35?
So their theme is exceptional without exception. I think they're looking for people who've gone beyond what is the norm or what is expected from chartered accountants, people who've tried to do additional work in the community and reaching out to other people who've had influence, and under 35. I mean, it's not a lot of time to kind of be in a position of influence or greatness, but I think they're looking for people who've taken those opportunities and done great things, even though they were still young in their careers as CAs.
And you are obviously under 35 and you are in a position of influence as a CFO. How did that come about?
So I studied accounting, obviously, to become a CA. I then did my master's in taxation. I worked in financial reporting at a listed telco for a few years. And I quickly realized that I wanted to have an overview of the finance function. I think being a specialist wasn't for me. I wanted to one day be in charge of a finance department, whether that meant CFO or whatever the title was. So I moved to the investment company that I'm with now with the hopes of learning the full value chain of the finance function and working my way up through the ranks within the company to get to where I am now.
Fantastic. And were you not scared that this is a big role that you're being entrusted with at such an early stage of your career, relatively speaking?
It's scary. I mean, the first meeting I had with our audit com chair, he asked me, how do I feel now that I've been in the role? And I said, I feel as though the weight of the company is on my shoulders because the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
You don't have another person. I mean, you're reporting to the board, you and the CEO, obviously, but from a finance perspective, you are the person where the buck stops. But I think I've always, throughout my journey, I've always been the youngest in things. So I've never been afraid to excel just because I'm young. I went to school earlier. Previously where I worked, they used to call me the young one because I was younger than everybody else. I think I've been used to being a young person. And I've never let imposter syndrome or anything like that make me feel as though I can't do something just because I'm young. But having said that, I think the weight of responsibility and understanding that you've been entrusted with such a great responsibility, I'm honored that people would trust me to be able to do that. Obviously, people see something in you and they believe that you can do it and they've entrusted you with it. So you need to step up.
Notwithstanding that you are young, but do you feel that your previous experience had adequately prepared you for this role?
I think you can always prepare. but you'll never fully know what's coming, right? So as and when challenges arise, I think it's important to do your research, to adapt. Yes, you can have that benefit of I've seen something somewhere before, but you're never going to see everything before. So what I think helped me in my role is I've got this thing that I need to prepare. And if I don't know, I need to research and I need to ask. And I need to speak to people who've walked the path, before me, because I can't know everything. And I mean, I'm the youngest member of our board. I don't have the benefit of time with experience, So it's also putting myself out there and I guess putting in the extra research and planning and preparation to help me succeed in the role.
And what is it like being the youngest member of the board?
Initially, I must say, I learned very quickly that you need to build rapport with, your board. Yes, you've got the position, but they need to learn to trust that what you say is trustworthy. And you need to understand how things work. You need to understand your audience. You need to speak to your audience. So I think in the beginning, it was, let's see what will happen. So I worked really, really hard to prepare, to research, to be ready for those meetings. There were times I think they were pushing me to see if I'd break. But what I have realized over the past, few years is that there is that trust, there is that rapport. And I've learned that you have to earn people's trust. They can put you in a position, and it's not that I got the position because I'm young. I got it because I'm qualified and they believe I can do the job. But I also need to show that I can do the job, and I need to build that rapport. And it's always harder when you don't have the number of years of experience behind your name, the way that the older board members do. So you have to work hard, but I think it brings something fresh. I think for me, it's always, I'm looking at the next generation. I'm looking at young people. There's a fresh perspective. You are looking at what is new, what is tech now, bringing that kind of. So I think it's important that boards do have the diversity of age as well, because it does bring that fresh perspective, and we're not stuck in doing things the way that we used to do them. We're adaptable to change.
For a role like the one you have, you're talking about building rapport with the board, with the board or other stakeholders. How does one actually approach that? How do you build a rapport?
So you need to know your work or the area that you're working in, right?
Yes.
And for me, being in the investment space, I was a CA when I started an investment company, but I felt as though I needed to do some sort of additional investment studies. So I started studying CFA just to build my knowledge base, right? Because you at the first point you need to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, they're not listening to you. So I think research, preparing, understanding the space that you're in, putting in that extra mile, because you might not necessarily have all the years. You have to do that. And then I think also being willing to listen, right? Because I think a lot of young people, yes, I'm young, I'm the CFO, I don't know everything. So I can't arrive and think that, okay, because I'm the CFO, you can't tell me anything. I think there's always so much to learn from other people. So showing them that, yes, I know what I'm doing, but I'm also willing to learn from you who might have been in the space a bit longer. Hear your point of view, hear your perspective, so that we can see how we find a solution. But I think, there's young and then there's you look young. I look young. So so it's always, when people come and they're almost waiting, where's the boss? Is this the CFO? So I always find that very funny. But yeah, you have to, I guess, put in the work, because you don't have the benefit of age.
I'm interested to know that day when you discovered that you got the role. What was going on through your mind? Just take us to that moment.
So it was a journey because I acted in the role,
Okay.
I think, for 6 months. And in those 6 months, there were very challenging times that I needed to step up and account for. And it was a very grueling process, I think. But what really inspired me when I got that role was that the board would put their trust in me. So it was an honor. And even the company that I work for, serves a community. So being entrusted with that you are entrusted with wealth for future generations, it's a big honor for me. I was very excited about it, but also understanding that it's a big responsibility, that many people are dependent on you making the right decisions, and on you making decisions that are for the benefit of not just today, but for future years in the portfolio, for wealth. So I think I didn't quite celebrate until we went to the AGM, our shareholder approved, and then I was, quite excited about it. But yeah, it's a big honor for me. Mm.
And you mentioned that you are not only young, but you look young. And typically, in your position, you have people who are older than you that you are leading. Um, and sometimes the temptation may be to overcompensate. Maybe people become more aggressive, or apply different strategies to make sure they still gain the respect that's due. In your case, how do you navigate that space to make sure that your team gives you due respect, they trust you, you have a good working relationship, despite the fact that you are young and you look young?
So for me, being in this role has never been about a title. It's about, I'm here to serve the community, I'm here to serve the company. And I think I've instilled that within the people that I work with, in my team and within the company. There is that mutual respect. People understand that, yes, I may be young, but I've got what it takes to be in the position, right? And I have a fiduciary duty. Someone else doesn't have that fiduciary duty. So at the end of the day, the decisions that are made, I will be held to account. So I don't need to be aggressive in how I approach people, but I need to make them understand what my role is within the business, and make them understand that, yes, you might make a certain decision, but I'm the one who'd have to live with it or account for it to the board. So this is why I'm asking you to do something in a certain way. So I think it's important to take people along with you on your journey. I've never believed in being a dictator or lording over my title over people. I don't think that's necessary. But I think I've built enough of respect. And people who don't know me, once they've worked with me, and we've had a conversation, we've worked on a project, whatever it is, I'd like to believe that they respect me because I am good at what I do, and not because I forced the title down their throat to say, I am the CFO, therefore, he will listen to what I say.
Yeah. And what other adjustments, if any, did you have to make after you got promoted to this role, from a family point of view, the relationships you keep around you? Did you have to find new friends? What other changes occurred in your life as a result?
So from a family perspective, I did not have children at the time. I've since had a baby. So that's a completely different dynamic and world. But I've always kept friends around me that are similar in thinking, not necessarily career, but understanding that we're all trying to do well. We're all trying to do our best in our various paths that we're walking. So encouraging one another and understanding that, yes, I might not see you for a few months because I'm busy on something that's time sensitive, but it doesn't mean we're not good friends. I think also important is to surround yourself with people that understand your journey and understand that you are trying to do something great in your career, and they will support you. I have a very supportive husband. who understands, the kind of job, the kind of pressures, the kind of timelines that we need to adhere to. And also coming from that auditing articles life, everyone assumes that as a CA, you're always busy anyway. You don't have time. You're always just busy. So I think the support has been there. It's also just meant that you don't see people as often as you do. But we've also been in lockdown, right? Yeah. So
it's compensated.
It's compensated for that.
Okay, brilliant. And what would you say is or are some of the key aspects about your role that you enjoy the most?
I enjoy that we work for community. I enjoy that I'm not working for a shareholder that is invisible. And it's just there for profits. One of the things about the Bafokeng is we are investing for future generations and this current generation. So I enjoy that. Yes, I'm not directly in the community every single day, but the decisions we make, the dividends we make, that's all going for future generations, and that's giving back to the community. I also enjoy the diverse transactions that we work on within the business. We've had a lot of unique accounting, a unique tax, all of the things that you think you'll never see in your lifetime, they're happening with us. So I enjoy that. I also enjoy that being a CFO is not just about finance. I have oversight over IT, different areas of the business, human capital as well. So I engage with stakeholder relations. So I enjoy that I can interact with various parts of the business and fully understand, what we do as a business, how the nuts and bolts work within the business.
Yeah, brilliant. And let's go back to your earlier part of your career. What drove you to choose the CA route as your preferred route?
So I used to watch Miss South Africa, and the judge would come out, and I think it was PwC at the time, there'd be a partner with the results to say these were audited by PwC. And I thought, I need to be that person with the envelope who's going to announce who the winner of Miss South Africa is. And that's when I actually started researching who are these people? Why do people trust them to make such an important, or at the time, an important decision, an announcement? What is it about them that instills confidence? And that's when I started, reading up about the profession and accountants. What do they do? And I really thought I'd be an audit partner in an audit firm. But I quickly realized that was not my path. But that's kind of what inspired me.
Okay, brilliant. And did you end up at PwC?
I did. I did my articles there. I did my first year, though, academic articles, so at the University of Pretoria. I was an academic clerk for the Tutuga program. So I did my first year there, and then I did the rest at PwC.
Yeah. And what were the article days like? I know you guys work extra hard, get paid very little, don't sleep much,
Yeah, so I had the benefit of missing that first year of poor pay because I was at the university. So I think I've had two article experiences, the university part and the actual auditing firm part. University part I really enjoyed because I was lecturing and tutoring. And for me, that was important. I wanted young accounting students to see a young Black female who is going to be a CA, who is teaching them, who looks like them. Maybe we don't all come from the same background, but to show you that it's possible. So I quite enjoyed that lecturing part. The second part with the audit firm, it was tough for me because you come in as a second year and people expect you to be a second year, but you just started articles. So you really have to pick things up quickly. You have to catch up what people have had a year to do in basically 3 months so that you can be at that level to be a second year. So that was really tough. I was doing my master's in tax. I had to do a dissertation that year as well. So it was a very tough year with board exams and all of that. But within the auditing firm, I think I quickly built a reputation for the person who's hardworking, who's able to get things done, who, again, building that rapport, right? Because you come in, yes, you've got this title, but people don't know you, they don't trust you. So I quickly had to learn what is it, who do I reach out to, the clerks that have had that experience, how do I lean off what they've learned and grow from them as well. So the first part of the articles at the audit firm, it was really long hours. It's a big shock to your system, and it's a lot of hard work. But I think what was important for me is that you're sowing a seed for the future. So yes, there might be a season now where you are leaving the office at 2 o'clock and getting back at 7. There might be a time where you are working weekends, you have to put in the hours, but you're sowing a seed because you need to build that experience, right? And people sometimes look at articles as, "Oh, I just need to get through this, it's a death sentence." For me, it was, I need to learn as much as I can so that when I do leave, I am not just mediocre. I don't just want to be, yes, we signed you off, okay, but I want it to be good. And I wanted to be a great, finance professional. So it was important for me to learn as much as I can. Yes, but I mean, you're doing stock counts in fridges to count chips. It's not glamorous at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, you must sow the seed.
It's interesting you mentioned that because, for some of our younger viewers, they may know about the CA route. It used to be tip and top, but don't actually know what do you do when you're doing articles. Can you take us through that? What actually happens during articles?
Interestingly enough, I'm also a training officer at my current company. So I train article clerks now on what is the traditional top route. So investment side would be top in the old days. Your articles are basically to get you ready, right? And the long hours it's basically conditioning, because you're coming from an environment of school where you know how to study, you know how to regurgitate your books, but you don't know how to apply that in the real world. And you don't know what it means to translate the theory into practice. So how I viewed articles was, there's a time where I'm going to be expected to know. I've got this gap where no one expects me to know. They all know that I'm learning, and there's a grace. There's a grace period because you're not the CFO. There's no weight on your shoulder. You're the trainee, So you need to use that opportunity to learn and grow. You should be getting exposure to various parts of business. Even if you're doing it in the auditing firm, try to look at, what does this company do? Yes, I'm taking the bank recon, but what do they actually do? Why is this thing important? Why is it important that we actually have certain controls in place if you're doing auditing? If you're doing your top, what makes companies make these kind of decisions? What drives the business? I think those things are important. And as you move in your career, that foundation that you learned in articles, it becomes second nature. If the board needs something, you're not, oh, I can only work 8 hours a day. You've already, I'm going home now. You're conditioned that there's a task or there's a job needs to be done. I know I need to get it done, so I will get it done, and also you're building character. I think your article days, yes, they might not be glamorous. It's not all good, but it's also there to build character.
Yeah. And what would you say are some of the key traits, skills that are required for someone to be a CFO?
I think ability to adapt to change. Your traditional CFO was looking at financial reporting, or now I think that maybe is 30% of my role. So you need to understand that the accounting that you did might not always be your day-to-day, right? You are trusted as a business partner, so you need to adapt to what is the requirement of the business. I think as a good CFO, you need to also accept that you can't know everything. So you must hire the people that can know everything. I mean, I'm not a technical person anymore. I used to be that, but you move away from the detail. And then you need people that will be able to understand those technical aspects and be in the detail. So being able to pull on the resources that have those technical expertise, I think is important as a CFO. And then also understanding that you are a business partner, that the CEO, the board places a lot of reliance on you as a business partner, and being able to provide them with information and being able to provide input into decisions.
And then in terms of your upbringing, you mentioned you are originally from Joburg. You grew up in Midrand. It's quite an interesting thing to talk to someone who grew up in Midrand. Most people say, "No, I grew up in Soweto. I grew up in Mamelodi," or that's quite interesting. How was it growing up back in those days? What kind of family structure do you have around you?
So I grew up with both my parents. They're both still with me. I'm the oldest, so I have one younger brother who's 3 years younger than me. We did grow up in Midrand before it was developed, in the pre-waterfall, highly developed times, pre most things. So I went to school in Midrand for primary school and then to the high school. So I went to Midrand High School. I was head girl in both primary school and in high school. So often when people say they're going home for December, I am
You were
home.
walking home.
I'm walking home. This is, so Midrand Joburg has been home for me. My parents moved to Midrand when I was 2 years old. So I wouldn't say, most of my life I've grown up in Midrand. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned you were a head girl in primary and high school. Like, at what point did you, in your primary days, discover I've got an interest in leadership?
I was quite bossy when I was young.
Has it changed now?
I think I am a bit bossy, but I've learned how to be bossy.
Okay.
So I've learned how to speak to people and how to convince them to do certain things without being overbearing.
Okay.
Which I think, obviously, when you're a child, you don't know how to do that. So I think I was quite bossy, and I could get people to listen and to do what I wanted to do. So I thought I can be a prefect and a head girl because people will listen to me. But obviously, as you grow up, you can't be shouting at everybody. You have to learn how to speak to people. So it was almost, I was really good in academics in school. So it was almost the natural progression to be a leader, and also to just be able to take people along with you. So to be able to convince people that this is what we all need to do and get their buy-in. I quite enjoyed that from a young age.
And then in high school, that was again a natural progression in terms of being in leadership.
Yeah, so I was quite the nerd. I was quite the nerd in high school. I remember they used to tease me to say, your books are not going to get you far in life. And I thought they will. So I was they have. Here I am. So I was quite the nerd. But I also was able to find a balance between being a nerd and book smart and also taking people along with me in the journey. So, getting people to understand that this is why we need to do something. Please, can we do this? If you listen to me, I'm not leading you astray. So I think being a nerd kind of made people trust you because you know things. But also I was a nerd who was not afraid to speak up and not afraid to engage with people. And to, if people are sitting in the corner after school, I'll sit with you. It doesn't mean because I'm a nerd, I'm not going to hang out with everybody. So, yeah.
And where did that come from? Is it just inherent quality you were born with? Was it because of your upbringing? Or you just pick it up somewhere?
I think, my parents were quite instrumental growing up to say, you don't need to treat people special just because they've got a title. So they never told us, their friends, I think, were important people in their careers. They never told us Uncle so-and-so is the boss wherever he works. It was just, this is Uncle so-and-so, you must respect him. So for me, it was, you need to respect people, and you need to try and understand the point of view that they are coming from, you know? And I think as a leader, if you do not try and understand where people are coming from, you will not be able to lead them. So it was for me, get to know people, get to know what their points of contention are and their point of reference. What is their point of reference when, you know, before you approach them, and understand that the tactics or the way in which you approach people will be dependent on their points of reference, you know. So I think from a young age that was instilled in me, that you always respect people regardless of their title, regardless of where they are in life, and that you seek to understand their perspective before you try and impose what it is you're looking for on them, from them. And I think in high school it was the same for me, you know, trying to understand people, trying to understand why are you unhappy about certain things, how can we negotiate. I mean, a silly example was when I was in high school, girls could not wear pants. In the uniform did not have pants. We only had the tunics. And I was, you know, I listened and the girls were not happy and it was cold in winter. They wanted to wear pants. And I went to the governing body and we had a whole meeting. It was very taboo for girls to wear pants. And, you know, just being able to explain, you know, this is the challenge that people are having. This is why, was a breakthrough, I think, for me at the time. It's a small thing, but at the time it was a breakthrough, to show that, you know, you can listen to people's perspectives and then bridge the gap between them and the parties that you're trying to negotiate with. So yeah, they wear pants at the school now.
Oh wow! All because of you. Eh?
I don't think anyone knows that there was ever a time
Wow.
where they were not wearing pants, but
I think that's a big deal because schools are very particular about uniforms. So
yes.
for them to actually have that change of mindset, you know, it may look like a small thing now, but it's a huge win.
Yeah. So I think, you know, there's the saying that says that your gift will make room for you and put you before great men. And I've always believed that I have the gift to be able to stand before great men, you know, or women, and to be able to plead the case and to be able to take back. If you're not happy with something, I will go back and I will revert. But at the end of the day, I will be able to plead my case, you know. And also just going back to being on the board of a company. Sometimes you get rejected with certain proposals. It's, again, go back, being able to plead your case. So I think that foundation was good. It was good for me.
Fantastic. I think it's fair to say being book smart does not necessarily guarantee success in life generally.
Yes.
But you are book smart, and I think we can say you are successful given the position you occupy, the age you're at now. What has differentiated you from just being book smart and being book smart plus to be successful?
Yeah, I think being book smart is important, but like you say, it can only get you so far. For me, it was important in my career to put my hand up for certain things, to not be scared to be out there. I'll make an example. I worked at a company and I was I think an analyst at the time, and there was a position for a senior manager role, and I applied, and you know, they were just shocked. How could you apply for this role? You're junior, you definitely will not get it. And I said, it's fine that I don't get it, but now you know who I am. And now you will take me through this process, whatever the process is. I will learn from that process. And maybe I won't be the senior manager here one day, but then at least I know what it takes to be a senior manager, right? So I think putting yourself out there, raising your hand for opportunities as they come along, and not waiting for the big things. You just finished articles, now you want to be the CFO, but you don't even know how to use the laptop. So it's working on the small things, and understanding that there is a gap between what you know and what the world is like in the corporate space, and being able to learn from other people, to be able to bridge that gap, I think is important.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you studied masters in tax.
Yes.
And you later discovered this is not for me. Do you feel that was a waste of time? Is it helping you now? Any insights there?
I don't think it's a waste. Tax by nature changes constantly, right? So the tax that I knew in 2013 is not necessarily the same. Yeah. However, what the masters in tax taught me is how you interpret legislation. So yes, the legislation might have changed and evolved since I've been there, but I'm able to still interpret if I receive a tax opinion from an advisor, for example, and be able to apply my own mind. So I'm not those people that you gave me your view and I'm just going to accept it because I'm the client. I will be able to challenge you, and I will be able to ask questions. But also, I think it showed me the gap between, your undergrad, where you're just expected to, um, uh, almost repeat what you've been taught, to going a little bit deeper in the thinking when you're doing your master's, and interpretation. So I don't think it's completely wasted. If you ask me certain sections of the act, I definitely won't know now. Yeah. But I think the principles were still good.
Brilliant, brilliant. And of course, you are currently studying for your CFA.
Yes.
Any plans of further studies on something else?
So I need to finish the CFA level 3, which I'm hoping to do this year. Yeah. And then after that, I do want to look at executive leadership. I'm not sure if I'm ready to do a whole nother qualification, but I think executive leadership, especially around young executives, and some of the principles that I've been able to experience in the workspace, to just expand on that.
Okay, brilliant. And outside of work, what keeps you busy? What do you do outside of the office?
So my baby keeps me busy. He keeps me busy, but I really enjoy traveling. Yeah. And I enjoy, my husband and I travel, we try to travel once a year to a new place. So I really enjoy that. So my hobby is looking for places to go to and things to do. Church also keeps me busy. I'm serving in church on Sundays, so that's also keeps me busy. I think those are the main things.
I usually ask our guests what are some of their private habits that make them successful. In your case, what would you say are some of those things you do behind closed doors that people don't see? They just see the superstar in front of them, but there's a lot of work going on behind closed doors.
I think protecting my mental health. And I think it's become such an important thing, highlighted by COVID as well. So for me, it's I started adult coloring when we went into lockdown, where it kind of just calms you down or relaxes you. Adult coloring, but also,
what is that?
Oh, so it's a coloring book, but it's for adults. So the pictures are smaller. Okay. So you just color in with your pencil. So it's quite relaxing for me. Like sometimes I'll be sitting, maybe I'm listening to a podcast or whatever it is, and you're just coloring. So it just focuses your mind on something that is not, I don't need to think about it. Yes, so yes. I think taking breaks from thinking is important, because there's a lot of thinking and decisions and all of that you have to make all the time. So taking that time out to not think, I beg your pardon, I'll do that adult coloring book. And then also keeping people or relationships that are important to me. So keeping in touch with people that feed your soul and that are positive, and that are encouraging, and having that place where you can be vulnerable. I don't think your vulnerability is needed when you're in the board meeting, obviously, but you need to have that safe space where you can say, oh, today was rough. I just almost couldn't complete what I needed to do. And the person says, you know what, it's okay, you can continue again tomorrow. So for me, having that safe space where you can just relax and you're not Tinyiko the CFO, you're just so those are the kind of things I do. But then also being conscious of when I need to take a break. Because the pressures are so much and the time is so demanding on young professionals, I think there's this expectation that you just need to keep going, keep pushing. And people don't know when to take a break when they're tired, And for me, it's very important, which is why I'll book this weekend we are doing something just so that we can have a break to look forward to keep you going. So yeah, those are some of the things.
That's fantastic. Any parting words before we wrap up?
I think as a young professional, always keep learning, always keep learning and being hungry to excel, and always know that, you've not arrived. There's always the next benchmark, and people will entrust you with certain things. Be greater than that, and be more excellent in that. And the last thing for me is that every season has its own grace for it, and I honestly believe that you need to equip yourself for certain seasons. And if you're not ready for something, then try and see how you can prepare yourself to be ready for something. Don't just say, no, I can't do that because I'm not as smart as Jabu. I'll see how can I excel, how can I learn from Jabu, how can I learn from what he has done to also see how I can get there.
Fantastic. That's beautiful. My last question to you, what is your next big chapter?
My next big chapter, not now, in a few years, is listed companies. So CFO of a listed company. Yes, I think that in the longer term.
All the best with that. I have no doubt you'll be there. Thank you so much, Tinyiko. Really appreciate you taking the time. I've really enjoyed this conversation, as I'm sure most of our viewers will also have enjoyed it. Thank you.